Deborah Berman, Edith McRae, Renata Schmidt, Karen Smith, and Paula Winner. This will be the second time this group has performed at the Evening of Jewish Storytelling, and it's wonderful to have them back. Thank you so much.
We will sing 4 Yiddish songs tonight. Our first song is Schnirele Perle, String of Pearls.
Schnirele Perle gilderne von Mashiach ben David sitzt bin on.
Halt a Becher in der rechter Hand, macht a Brache auf dem ganzen Land.
Oy, omen, beomen, das ist wahr. Mashiach wird kommen, ein Tiegsjahr. Oy, omen, beomen, das ist wahr. Mashiach wird kommen, ein Tiegsjahr.
Wird kommen zuvor, werden sein gute Jahren.
Wird kommen zu reiten, wollen sein gute Zeiten.
Kommen zu gehen, liegen in Erzähl, einstehen. Our next song is Bulbas, potatoes.
Sonntag Bulbes, Montag Bulbes, Dienstag und Mittwoch Bulbes, Donnerstag und Freitag Bulbes.
Shabbos in a novena bulbe kugele, Sonntag weiter bulbes, Bräut mit bulbes, Fleisch mit bulbes, warmes und wäschere bulbes, Ober und wieder bulbes.
Einmal in der Novena a Bulbe Kugele, Sonntag weiter Bulbes. Ober Bulbes, wieder Bulbes, Ober und wieder Bulbes, wieder und Ober Bulbes.
Shabbos noch in Cholent a bulbe kugele, Sonntag weiter bulbes.
Our next song is Shasha, Hush Hush.
Scha, scha, alle Winden habe geblasen. Scha, scha, wieder gelb Limmelech und Grasen.
Ja, ja, mache weg dich Maras mit der Hand. Ja, ja, glatt sich wieder auf der Horizont.
Dort setzt du wieder a heimisch Panem. Dort hörst du wieder a heimisch Wort.
Scha, scha, wieder leuchtet heute Nacht die Frühjahr. Scha, scha, kommt für uns klappt dann in Mantia.
Jo, jo, sind sich ein Littel und ich schwer. Jo, jo, sie sind ein Nigen, was ich hör.
Rudolf, setzt du wieder heimisch Pannen. Rudolf, hältst du wieder heimisch Wort.
Scha, scha, weckt der Morgen sich zum Leben. Scha, scha, Gib ihm, oi du hast ihm was zu geben.
Ja, ja, setzen sich vor die Arbeiterweg. Ja, ja, wieder gelbe Malach und Weg. Du dort setzt du wieder heimisch Brunnen.
Du dort hörst du wieder a heimisch Wort.
We are closing with a gute Woche, a good week.
A gute Woche, a gesunde Woche, oi wünschen mir zu alle Jeden.
Und zu aller Liebe, guter Freund, Salem alle da.
Gesund sollen wir sein, trinken wir mir Wein, diesen weißen Tag herein. Gesund soll mir sein, trinken wir mir Wein, diesen weißen Tag herein.
Oi Gott soll geben zu jedem einem, was bedarf noch sein Verlangen.
Oi lechem lech oil, beged lil boish, vayayin kiddush lahav dolo.
Gesund soll mir sein, trinken wir mir Wein, bis in weißen Tag herein.
Gesund soll mir sein, trinken wir mir Wein, bis in weißen Tag herein.
Gesund soll mir sein, trinken wir mir Wein bis in weißen Tag herein. Gesund soll mir sein, trinken wir mir Wein bis in weißen Tag herein.
You can find more information about the songs and our group in the link in the chat. Thank you for sharing the songs with us.
So the first poem is The Time We Climbed Above the Sanctuary. We knew the bar mitzvah would be boring, so we agreed to cut out at the same time and meet in the bathroom, so we did. Benny had heard the rabbi say that there was a way to the attic from the corner stairwell, so we went. And we found it, and we went up, and on the top landing we found a ladder and a high wall hatch. So we climbed. And the attic was dark and huge and warm, and not flat. It was dome-shaped like the sanctuary below. So we looked up. There were steep stairs and a roof above, and there was only a little light from the roof vents. So we squinted. And on the dome top was a catwalk, and we were right above the sanctuary, and we could hear the muffled prayers below. So we sat. We could even see small holes below where light fixtures were hung. It was like stars in a sky below us. So we looked down. How do you feel to be Jewish? I said. And Benny said that the attic doesn't care what religion's down there. So we laughed. We discussed climbing on the ceiling off the catwalk, but when we put our feet on it, it felt soft. So we didn't. You could fall through the ceiling, I said, and if you fall through, you'd land on the bima and die. So we laughed again. I think you'd really die, I said. Well, you would if you fell just wrong on the yad, said Benny. So we squirmed. And then I said, Benny, what's friendship? And he said, I don't know, maybe exploring dark places like this attic together. So we paused. And the dark and the warmth and the sound of the prayers were just right. So we lay down and fell asleep. So we missed the sweets and the kiddush. But it became a story we'd tell, so it was worth it every bit.
And Max has also come to Temple Bethel many times to enchant us. And so I'm looking forward to hearing what he's going to do now.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Max, and I'm going to start with a doina. A doina is a shepherd's lament from Romania, and in the klezmer idiom, it's improvisation. Then I'm going to be performing a piece I collected from Romania with the graciousness of a grant from the Jewish Studies program at Ithaca College, and Rebecca Lesses is listening in here, and it's because of her that you will be hearing this piece. It's actually going to be the second piece in the set. I'm going to play an earlier version of this piece that I discovered that was first recorded by Hochman's orchestra in New York City in 1921. And Hochman entitles the piece A Mitzvah Tänzel, and it is a traditional wedding dance. The piece was also recorded in 1927 by Dave Taras, wonderful clarinetist Dave Taras, and he entitled the piece Dem Tzadik's Zemero, which is the wise man's tune. And I'm not going to be performing his version. So I'll be performing the version from 1921 by Hochman's orchestra. And then I'm going to be performing the piece, the version that remained in Romania and that I collected in the winter of 2007 and 2008. I collected it from an elderly Roma man named Jan Roman, who played with the Jews with his father before World War II. And then during World War II, he played for the Germans. And then after World War II, he played with the Jews again in the city of Botoșani. Botoșani is in the northeastern quadrant of Romania. And after World War II, a lot of the Jewish refugees congregated in this particular town, and it was populated by majority of Jewish residents at that time. And then they later immigrated to Israel, and there are very few Jews left there. I'm not sure even if the temple in Alta is still there, temple on high. The temple in Alta, there was a replication of that particular temple later in Israel. So here we go with the doina into A Mitzvah Tänzel, the 1921 version of this wedding dance tune, and then into Jan Rovan's version, which is generically called Cantare de Petrece, which is just like a party song.
Thank you so much, Max. Thank you. It came across very, very well from my ears. Can never tell. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for hosting all of us.
We have one more presenter to close out the evening, Rabbi Dovid Birk. Hello, Rabbi.
Hi.
Rabbi Birk is been immersed in Jewish learning since his childhood, and we are now blessed with having him at the Reutemann Chabad Center at Cornell. He's the program director there. So carry it away.
Thank you so much. It's a hard act to follow, all of these wonderful presenters, and thank you for the opportunity to be able to participate, bringing Jewish people together for a, certainly on Saturday night. It's heartwarming and meaningful, and thank you very much. So I'm gonna tell a story. I might tell two stories, but we'll see how time goes. Maybe one will do. It is a custom in Jewish tradition to tell stories on Saturday night at the conclusion of Shabbat. So this is a perfect setting. The story I want to tell actually is about two brothers. One brother's name was Elimelech, and the other brother was Zusha. Elimelech was called affectionately Elimelech of Lizhensk. I guess that's where his court, his Jewish activity revolved around Lizhensk. And Reb Zusha was from a place called Anipoli. They were brothers, but later on they became, I guess, legends in their own towns. But in their younger years, you're talking about two extremely devout yet humble personalities. That's what I guess made them so great. They were not looking for greatness, even though they clearly were great individuals in their piety and their scholarship. But I think what sort of characterized them the most was that they were righteous people that were concerned about lofty and abstract matters and the well-being of other people. And they weren't perhaps bogged down by some of the mundane, more trivial things that ordinary folk, struggle with. They would travel from town to town. They didn't particularly dress very, I guess, befitting for such great individuals. And as a result, people would confuse them for beggars. They would look at them and be, okay, yeah, who are you guys? You need some charity. We'll give you a few coins to help you on your way. It wasn't because they needed charity, just they didn't care particularly about dressing to impress. And so they would travel from town to town there, and they would pick up mitzvot, opportunity to help other people. If someone was in need, they would be there to help them. If someone passed away, for instance, and needed to be buried properly, or if somebody needed money, they would try and collect for that person. Or if someone needed kosher food, they would do their best to help them. But they did it in a very clandestine, quiet, subtle way. That great humility. We're talking now in the late 1600s, early 1700s. Now, it was a time, especially in the Ukraine and in Russia, that people, a lot of the local lords in the Jewish stories, they're called the parets, the lords who owned a lot of these properties of let's say the local township. They were like above the law, very important people, and the rest of the folk were fairly. They made ends meet, but they lived meager lives. These two brothers passed through a town, and because of the way that they looked, people raised their ire. They looked at these people and they looked at these two brothers and they thought, okay, these guys are vagabonds. Who are they? And they happened to find themselves by chance.
Dovid Birk. Mute. Start video.
Hello? With me? Sorry, I heard a voice. Okay. They, hold on one second. Perfect. Okay. They found themselves on a property which they didn't realize, but they weren't permitted to be there. And somebody came along and obviously took the opportunity to say, oh, you're vagabonds, what are you doing here? And we're going to put you in the dungeon until we figure out what the right course of action is. And they took these two brothers, totally unexpected, and they threw them in a cell, in a dungeon. And this was not, they weren't treated particularly fairly. There was no questioning here. There was no due process. They just stuck them in there, and that's it. And they were in the cell with, some unruly characters. I don't know what they were, the murderers or thieves or whatever, but they found themselves in this very challenging position. How were they going to, survive? And it was not very well looked after. And it smelled, and it was not a clean place. Now, obviously, these two brothers being Orthodox Jews as well, one of the things that they do, it's customary, is to pray every day, 3 times a day. And, they didn't have many possessions on them, but they did have a little backpack, a little knapsack. And in the knapsack, they carried their tefillin. So obviously, they came to terms with this decision. They're suddenly there. Obviously, they're just going to look for the chance to sort of declare that they're innocent, and they really had no bad intentions. But in the meantime, while time is passing, they went through the course of the night, and they woke up in the morning, and they wanted to pray, as Jewish men and women have done for centuries. It's time to pray first thing in the morning, to say their blessings, to don the tefillin, to wrap the tefillin. And I guess the way that this particular cell was organized was that if you needed to use the bathroom, there was no facilities. There was literally just a chamber pot that had been put in the corner. And that's, I guess, it would be used, and eventually when it would get filled, they would empty it. It would be emptied by the guards. But that's where people used the bathroom. It was the same room where there was no furniture. They were in this cell, and there was this chamber pot in the corner. So as they're deciding what to do about prayer, the brother, Zusha, he begins to cry. He's crying, tears. And he's crying because according to Jewish law, you're not allowed to pray or don tefillin in a place that is that is unclean. So if, for instance, a bathroom, you wouldn't be permitted to put tefillin on in the bathroom. And because there was this chamber pot, and it was just part of this one room where they found themselves, and it smelled, he realized that according to Jewish law, he would not be able to put on his tefillin and pray. So he begins to cry, and he's crying. And his brother Elimelech looks at his brother Zusha, and he says, Zusha, why are you crying? So he says, because of that according to Jewish law, I can't pray because of this. It's not clean, this place that we're in. So he says, Elimelech says to his brother Zusha, he says, tell me, Zusha, who is it that says that you can't pray in a place that's not clean? So Zusha says, well, it's God Almighty in the Torah, a place that's not clean, you can't pray. So Reb Elimelech says to Reb Zusha, think about this for a second. This is the kind of instance where you are going to still fulfill the will of God by not praying. Ordinarily, you would pray by wrapping tefillin, but the same God that commands you to wrap tefillin and pray every morning is the same God that says, if you're in a place that's not clean, you can't pray. And Reb Zusha thought about this for a moment. He thought, wow, never in my life have I been in a situation where I could connect to God by not putting on tefillin. And this, for the two of them, triggered a tremendous insight and excitement of being able to connect to God in a very unusual circumstance, which they didn't anticipate. And so, like Hasidic Jews are wont to do, they begin to dance. And a little bit of joy in a prison cell where life is miserable, that gets the rest of the prisoners, excited. And the next thing, they're hands in hand and they're dancing around the chamber pot and they're having an absolute blast, and it's creating a huge ruckus. And the guards are coming running over and they don't know what's going on. And they open the door cell and they take out the batons. We're gonna beat you if you don't tell us what's this big excitement going on. So one of the prisoners says, well, it's not us, it's the Jews. It's these two Jewish men that came into the prison cell. It's something about that chamber pot that through the chamber pot, they've discovered a new connection to God, and they're able to serve God now on a higher level because of the chamber pot. And the guard says, oh, really? I'll deal with that. And he goes over to the corner, he picks up the chamber pot and he walks out and he says, I'll teach you guys a lesson. And he takes leave of the chamber pot. After he leaves, obviously now it's no longer a dirty place. Reb Elimelech turns to his brother, Reb Zusha, and he says, Zusha, now you can put on your tefillin and pray. Obviously, the story speaks for itself, but we find ourselves in very unusual circumstances often in life, and we think this is not the way we had anticipated it to be and we wanted it to be, but sometimes through celebrating the particular set of circumstances that we've been dealt can sometimes lead us to a higher and more profound spiritual experience. That's probably good for time. Thank you for the opportunity to tell the story.